Welcome to the Wealth Rebel Show. I'm Emma Wright. I'm your host, the original Wealth Rebel, and I am a multi-award winning wealth transformational coach and therapist. I'm here to empower you, empower high performing, heart-led entrepreneurs who are ready to stop surviving and to truly start thriving in their wealth, to really step into the next level of your wealth, right? I blend financial and business strategy. I have 20 years as a trader and a wealth manager, so I know about money and business strategy. But I also blend it with energetic alignment, trauma informed therapeutic tools, and deep somatic recalibration for a full mind, body, and soul recalibration for you to go and live a life that you love, to help you create wealth that's not just impressive on the outside, okay, but sustainable, nourishing, and aligned for you, yes, you, on the inside. So, how can we go deeper? How can you go deeper with me? Book a free one-to-one with me. Book a wealth cup of tea with me. Anyone who knows me knows that I love a cup of tea. Use the link. The link is in the notes. You can also explore ocean wealth and therapy. If you're in the heart of North Devon, right? Come and see me. Come and have a massage. Come and spend some time with me and explore your wealth on that deep level. Or you can join the next Lunch and Thrive with me. All the links are in the show notes or in the about section. So now let's get into the real reason that you are here with me today. Namaste. Welcome to the Wealth Rebels show. I am your host, your resident Wealth Rebel, Emma, and I am here to talk to you, the amazing Adam Brewer today. Adam Brewer is one of our regular experts that comes onto the show. He's a friend of the show, he's a friend of mine, an investment manager who manages the bits inside of your ISAs, your general investment accounts, and your pensions, right? Adam, I'll just like dive straight into chatting to you here. I was at Run Club on Saturday in down in Croyd, and it came up again like, what is a pension? A pension, I don't want a pension. Why would I want a pension? It's really fearful. My parents lost all their money because of their pension. And it's one of the biggest myths that I have to like break down constantly in the world. Like feel like it's one of the things that I came here to do was to go, it's not the pension's fault, it's what was inside it. And so Adam manages all the amazing things that go inside your investment portfolios, whatever tax wrapper that goes around your investment solution. So, first and foremost, Adam, welcome back to the Wealth Rebel Show. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, very well. Thank you. Really good. Yeah.
And you've been doing some sunny holidays recently, right? Enjoying yourself.
Uh,
Well,
it's it's been lovely. I mean, we were saying before we deserve this, the sun, and even though it's a little bit sort of showers today, that I think we've been owed it over the last
no
18 months
showers
or
in
so.
North Devon, just saying.
Never is, right?
We were talking about this right before we came on air. Like literally, North Devon is like a rainforest. It's why it's so lush. But if you remember back to last year, Adam, when we were chatting last year, having similar conversations, but it was like, where is the sun? And certainly went into winter feeling like I'd not had any vitamin D. Whereas this year, I'm like, I am having to avoid the sunshine because I'm getting too much of it. And I'm not complaining. I'm just making sure that I don't get sunburn constantly. So, no, we do not complain on this show. We are welcoming all kinds of weathers and all the sunshine. And you definitely, Adam, bring the sunshine into the Wealth Rebel show and into my life. So. Yeah, so thanks for being here. There's a couple of things that I really want to dive into for the benefit of the people that follow this show, because the sorts of people that follow me are entrepreneurial entrepreneurs, senior leaders in businesses, because senior leaders are always have an entrepreneurial streak in them, and people that are launching impact ventures, the people that are launching the ventures that are going to save the planet fundamentally, and this is what I believe. Um, we're in a time of massive evolution at the moment. I obviously come from a big spiritual background now, but whether you come from spirituality or you are just seeing what's happening in the world needs innovation. The world needs us to take ownership, and the world needs to not be in fear. And from what I'm seeing from a lot of the amazing venture capitalists, the people that are launching these ventures, the people that are bringing things that are changing the planet, whether that's healing businesses all the way to innovative solutions that are saving oceans, whether that's, businesses that are, creating new ways of enriching our bodies, you know, all the things that I get involved in my business in Star Wars Strategic Planners. It's really kind of noticeable now that innovation is needed, but we need to do our one thing and not feel like we have to take on all of the things, but we need to step out of fear. And I am hearing from so many people that I work with that they're really nervous about what's happening in the world. They can see that financial structures are crumbling. I get asked all the time, Emma, where should I put my money? Where's safe? Because when we're in fear, we flight to safety. And I think let's just go into this because one of the things that makes us feel less fearful, because we have to do these innovative solutions, we have to step through the fear, we have to take ownership, we have to keep pushing the needle forward. Because if we wait for the perfect time, it will never come. The truth and the knowledge is really, really, really amazing. And I love how you bring so much truth and knowledge with your expertise whilst you're working, not just in what you do, but in your life as well. And so, yeah, so let's dive straight into it. What
That's a massive question.
I don't
Like,
do small, Adam.
no, no.
Get
So
that?
that's a huge. Where do we go? I mean, firstly, I think people need to. Um, the the world is won by the optimists, right? If you're an optimist, you're going to do better. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure there's a load of stuff behind that, but optimists, if you don't, if you don't hit the moon, you hit the stars, or whatever the saying is. Completely butchered that. Um, So I think that's first thing when you're talking about your business things. But you need to flip your mindset from this fear, because I get it all the time where the market's high, so I'm fearful it's going to fall, or the market's really low, so I'm fearful that it's going to fall further, right? So no one's ever happy. It's always this fear. This fear is always around. So I I think it's better to alter that around, change that around, and say when the market's falling or it has fallen and it's low and everything's in crisis like it did in April, um, that you can buy everything a lot cheaper. It's like having, I don't know if it's a good analogy, but a Louis Vuitton bag that you've always wanted for 2,000 quid or whatever it costs, right? And it's on sale for 600. Great. Just you can buy it cheaper. You don't need to be fearful of it.
Oh,
Um,
Adam, before we go any further, there's so many things that I want to unpick in that because obviously, I feel like you bring the yang, the beautiful masculine, I bring the feminine, which is the yin, which is the kind of
I
the
did the handbag thing.
spiritual stuff. No, this is not about handbags. I'm not interested in handbags. I do not want a Louis Vuitton bag, just putting it out there. And I don't care how many sales it's going to be in. It ain't going to be a bag that I pick up. That's not what lights me up in terms of my feminine energy. And I think this is a massive misconception. Now you've just opened another can of worms. Massive misconception about what the feminine is here to represent. We are not here to represent handbags. You talked about that life generally is won by the optimists, right? And we have to flip our mindset from fear because no one's ever happy. I think that we're seeing two different types of people there. And it's very, very hard to flip your mindset. If you are a person that's never happy, guess what? You're never going to be happy. You're going to experience because you're going to attract in that energy. Everything is energy. When you look at the quantum mechanics, quantum physics of how the universe works, this is my energy. You are going to bring in what your mindset expects. If you expect doom and gloom, you're going to know the first thing you're going to notice is a market crisis. You're not going to see the sale of the Louis Vuitton bags. You're going to see crisis. You're going to go into panic mode. You're going to go into shutdown and you're going to be phoning Adam, which is why you believe maybe no one's happy because you're going to get the phone calls from the people that aren't
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
Flip side, the people that do have the mindset of eternal optimism, eternal sunshine, seeing the opportunity, they are going to see the sale. They're buying the market up. They're taking that leap of faith. They're going out there with their business no matter what. And yes, that is why on a practical level, without quantum woo-woo-ness, right? The it's won by the optimists because they don't have to switch their mindset.
Yeah.
So a big part of this is education for, I believe, is education of kind of just reinforcing the mindset because we can't flip our mindset. We can't change the way that our brain believes at a subconscious level. What we can do is give it new beliefs over time,
It just takes
constantly.
a long time. I think I was going to say that it's a huge amount of time to change who you are. Right, your character is probably built from things that have happened in your early 20s. That's the environment you grew up in, and that's the environment you stuck with, and that's why we think all the people younger than us or older than us are different to us
The
because they didn't
mindset
grow up
is
in that
formed
time.
by the age of
Um,
6.
yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
the
Wow.
mindset. So your beliefs from the moment you are born, your mindset and your mindset, your subconscious, your automatic way of being is formed by 6. And then it's built from there and reinforced from there. It is quick to shift your mindset when you know how to do it, which is one of the things that I'll be bringing in this show. We won't dive into how to do it today. If anyone wants to know how to do this mindset work really quickly, keep following and liking, subscribing the show because I'm diving deeper into teaching you how through the powers of breath work, somatic breath work, which is all about creating a mindset very, very quickly that is the optimist, that is a life that you want to
Yeah.
lead.
And you want to be an optimist, right? You want to be,
I know.
and I don't think I am, usually. So, but I'm aware of that, and so you don't want to be draining people's energy. This morning, I just came across this quote that someone sent me. There's keep a distance from people who've made being wronged their identity. They're not looking for solutions. They're looking to recruit, basically. Misery likes company and all that kind of stuff. And I think you've got to be aware of that. If you are this person that is not necessarily fearful, but not the optimist, pessimist, oh, this happened, you've got to be aware of that first, and then try not to drain the energy out of the conversation or out of the person you're speaking to, right? Because no one wants to hang around with that kind of person. I'm massively aware of that, and we got to try to stay positive in everything we do. But when it comes to investing, there's a bigger pull towards the negativity than there is the positivity. And that's always been the case. And it's really hard to pull against that. And I'm unsure that could ever be changed. I think there's always going to be a pull towards the negativity because it gets everyone's attention more. Talk about the news. What's in the news? It's always bad news, right? It's always crisis. I used to drive in. I used to listen to Radio 4 on the way into work, right? And I don't anymore because I listen to podcasts like you, right?
Yes.
And but when there was no news, when there was no bad news, they'd just bring up the NHS. I'm not saying that's not news, but it's always there in the background as a fallback to go, what can we moan and what can complain about? What's in crisis? Well, the NHS is always in crisis, so let's do that. But
Oh,
I think it's really
I think
important.
that's such a what a beautiful kind of thank you for sharing that because that's very deep. That's actually quite deep about kind of you, Adam. And that's why I believe you and I vibe together because it is that kind of like that energy of realism. I feel like you are a realist. You are that cautious optimist because I cannot have people around me that have the victim energy, victim mindset, stuck in a story, cannot let go of the past. I'm a Scorpio. I am so like in I'm not grounded. You ground me, Adam, into reality, and that is what we need. That's what we need in the world. That is why we have men and women, masculine and feminine. The masculine is massively grounded in reality. I would say you are exactly who you are meant to be, and I am the feminine, and the feminine is very much um like more kind of like in the clouds, head in the clouds, where we're activated by our higher chakras, our higher energy systems. And we kind of see from a higher perspective in a different way. And that's why we need to have men and women in the workplace. It's why we need to have men and women in the investment space, because what we do when we create that balance and we have men and women at board level, at all levels working together, we get to have this polarity, and we're in a world of polarities. We are in a world of poles, of plus and minuses, where people are going to see the negative and some people are going to see the positives. There's no right or wrong. It's all perception. Nobody's right or wrong. When you start to look at things, everyone is right when you look at it from their perspective, right? And I always, and I think that's probably because one of my things, I have a very balanced nature. My moon is in Libra. Libra is all about the scale. So whilst I'm very Scorpio on the outside and very passionate, I also can see things from all perspectives. But it's the awareness. Having that awareness is the first step. And if you're stuck in a story, you're not able to be in the present moment. And I do believe, first and foremost, yes, stop listening to Radio 4 that switches to then focusing on how bad things are in the NHS. It's going to keep you in a state of depression. Okay. Listen to uplifting things. Don't necessarily just listen to one podcast. Listen to an eclectic mix of things, because you don't want to create an echo chamber of yourself. You're not expanding there. That's why I love having conversations with you, because you bring this other perspective that grounds my energy, right? And then that's why I love to share these conversations, because people can hear from two people that are very passionate, have very similar aligned values. Values is one thing, but we often believe very different things because we had a different childhood. We don't had different things happen in that first 6 years, and we've had a different life. And
Yeah.
nobody is right or wrong. So having that awareness, but I do think a lot we could dive into this actually, because I think this is one thing that's really important. We could bring something super interesting with regards to investing is, if you are really wanting to create sustainable investment, you have to have the optimistic view of the investment world, and you have to do your research. You have to look at what you want to invest into, and then you have to pick stocks that are going to be here in the long game, because you are choosing investments that are coming from a place of love, like a place of future, a place of passion. And we're doing it because we're not kind of looking for something that's going to create stress in our life.
Yeah, so I think in terms of investing, if you're a pessimist or optimist, I think being an optimist is going to get you started, which is really important for speaking to people that you speak to, is to get them going, which I think is really important. But actually, once you're there, being an optimist or being a pessimist are probably both kind of negatives, because if you can't, you're not just going to make money because you're an optimist. Right? You're not going to lose money because you're a pessimist. You could lose money being an optimist. You could lose money being a pessimist. It doesn't matter, right? It's about what you buy in the end. And the stock market, and to think the stock market or any company's share price knows that you bought it or knows you exist, is just completely ridiculous. This is a dispassionate, unnatural, you know, beast. It's not alive. You might find that when you buy a stock and then the next day it falls by 10% because, and you think, oh, classic, I knew I bought it, but it's not like that, right? And some people have this thing where I just need it to get back up to where I bought it and I'll sell it. Well, the stock market
Yeah.
doesn't know your price or where you bought it in. It's not, It's about what value you bought it at and what value it is. If it's fallen, it may be better value. Something might have changed. It might be worse value. You don't know. So the stock price shows you the view of the market as a whole, and the market basically just a load of people buying and selling. Whoever's got the most money buying and selling, but it's just a view. That's all it is, and it's an opinion. You might have a different opinion. You might have a contrarian opinion, and it's quite good to have a different opinion because that's where you make the most money, right? But you've got to have a different opinion, and you have to be right. Just because all your friends won't stand in front of a train and you will, doesn't you know doesn't mean you're right. Okay, it's you've got to be careful with it.
Yeah, you've got to do your research. You've got to know why you're doing something. I think, knowing your why is really, really important. I talk about knowing your why in business, in life, all the time. If you don't know why you're doing something, don't do it, like fundamentally. And I think, being an optimist or a pessimist, they're just labels. First and foremost, if you believe you're a pessimist, guess what? You are going to be a pessimist. And you're probably not going to get started because you're going to be in fear. Or maybe you'll get started and you'll just hate the whole journey. And I do believe it will affect whether you make money or not because you'll probably sell at the wrong time. You'll probably pull your money out. You'll probably give Adam a headache. You'll probably take your money out when you shouldn't. And you'll make bad choices as an investor. So I do believe it will affect how you manage and experience and build wealth over time. So first and foremost, drop the labels, I think. Drop the labels, just be you, right? Don't label yourself an optimist or a pessimist. Just find out why. Why do you want to invest? Why do you want to make money? Why do I want to launch a business? Why do I want to exist in this world? Because I want to. It always goes back to what it is that you want to get out of something. Because when you focus on yourself, you can really get clear about your objectives, right? It goes down to building then objectives of why you're doing it. And then, and I love this, in terms of the things that you do, Adam, when you're building a portfolio, you're then coming from an attitude towards why you're investing. And you can then start to pick investments from the whole array of the investment world that suits you, not anyone else, not a square peg into a round hole. Let's dive deeper into that because I know
Yeah,
that's something that you're super passionate about as well, right?
yeah. I mean, I think also that investing, we sometimes feel like we need to jump in at level 10 when actually we can start at level 1. And I think level 1
Mhm.
is just get started. And people, well, why? Okay, right, just Google nutmeg, just fill out their questionnaire and put £1,000 into whatever it says their fixed asset allocation is, which is just a bunch of trackers that will just track the global market and a couple of bonds. And it's nothing that's going to go to zero. It's not going to double your money in a year. It's just that is investing. That is the stock market. You're buying the stock market. And I think that is the first step. Don't just put a
Let's
little
not
bit
pick
in.
on nutmeg though. I get nervous about recommendations on the show.
That's not a recommendation.
Yeah, and we'll just say that Adam
Yeah,
and I are not making any recommendations. So
there we
we
go.
always put the disclaimer in the show notes. There's no product recommendations at all. Nutmeg is a really great platform. It's run by, is it JP Morgan is one of the,
Owned by JP
it's
Morgan.
owned by JP Morgan,
Yeah,
right? Who is a big investment management firm in London. The way that Nutmeg do things is they do things from a more like systematic process. They're looking at indexes, and they have really great formulas to do robo advice. What is robo advice? It's when you just fill out some questions and it'll tell you what to do. One big caveat for just getting started, and I'm sorry, I am sometimes a little bit of devil's advocate, right? I feel like I bring like a devil's advocate is tax is really important when you're getting started. And so sometimes if you're not using your ISA, if you're not using your ISA, what is an ISA? An ISA is an individual savings account. It's just a thing that goes around your investment. This is in the UK, right? Um, you can just get started and try and use your ISAs because then you're not going to create more tax for yourself, especially if you're an entrepreneur that pays enough tax. A really great place for getting started is, yeah, finding a platform, getting invested, robo-advised, just get involved, and you can get started. You don't need £1,000 and maybe utilize your ISA for that if you haven't
Well, I
used.
think you've hit on level two there, because then you're going
I
the
love
next
your
step up of
levels.
trying to
You're another level.
optimize tax. Um,
Yeah,
and but it's really important. It is really important to do your ISAs, your LISAs if it's right for you, and
yeah,
all
yeah.
those kind of things. Um, but I think it's trying to get people used to just investing, and that is the first step. I think just and whether you put in you dip your toe in, put a small amount that you can afford for it to wobble around, depending on what you do, you'll get lessons from it and you'll get educated from it. Whether it goes down by 50% or it goes up by 100%, you're probably going to get, you've got to be careful you don't get the wrong lesson, but you'll know, right? And you'll start to understand the characteristics of how and the nature of the market and how things can move around. And that's all it is, because if you're just looking at a chart and you've got no money in it, your emotional attachment to it is pretty limited. So it's only when you start putting some money of your
Exactly.
own money in, you
I
put
don't
your
believe
hard
it's a
work
wrong
in.
lesson, especially in the early days. If you've got that little bit of money, Adam, you are gonna, if you lost all that money, but it's a small amount, there's no wrong lesson. You are gonna learn your lesson, right? And we are
Well,
here, if from soul school, coming from spiritual, we're here to learn lessons. We are here to go through life and learn lessons. And until you learn your lesson, you're going to keep learning the same lesson.
Emma, that's why we need you to tell us what the right lesson is. Because if you lost 50% of your money and then sold out and say, right, I'm never investing again, because you can lose all your money.
Yeah,
Right,
what's
that's
the
the wrong
lesson?
lesson. Okay.
What is the lesson from that? Because often we think the lesson is, I made a bad choice. I'm not going to do that again. But the lesson is like going deeper on what the lesson was trying to show you. And
The
often,
lesson is that you needed to do more research. If that happened in the market, well, not the market, but that would be an individual stock that fell, say 50% or whatever. That would be the lesson of you need to do more research into what you're buying, right? But equally, if the stock then doubled after you bought it, you could sit there thinking you're incredibly clever and that everything you touch is going to turn to gold. Now, go think about when we took exams when we were kids, or now. Actually, everyone's always taking exams, and if if you do badly, you blame it on the exam paper. The wrong questions came up, right? And if you do well, you say, "Oh, I worked really hard for that. I deserve that grade."
I never have
Wrong
been,
lesson.
Adam, and this is why. We are so unique. If I did badly, I would literally go back and go, what did I miss? So, whenever I have studied for exams, I've done so many past papers. I've really learned, I've tried to understand actually what it is that I'm studying. So, I actually understand the real aspects of it. And I then blame myself. I've always blamed myself. And that's just the difference in kind of I think and this is why we're all so different. And that's such a beautiful way of you would be, or maybe you wouldn't. This was just an example for you. Someone could blame the exam paper. Therefore, they're blaming something that's outside of themselves. Whereas I was always blaming something that was inside of myself, right? I actually think that's better because I have control of me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because it's external and internal.
Yeah. And
When
by
it
the
goes
way, that's
badly, it's
why I
external.
have never, touch wood, some wood here. I've never failed an exam because I've taken total ownership of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And then if I didn't quite get the result I wanted, because I have not really failed anything, I then look at why I didn't get the result. I still go deeper on the lesson of what it is that I'm trying to
And that's
reveal.
really important, because I think you just said the word ownership. And again, we just take
Yeah,
ownership for everything you do. If you invest, you need to take ownership of it. It's not the investment's fault. It's not the world's fault. It's you. Take ownership of what you're investing in, why you're investing in that, and what you're trying to achieve. And I think that's really important, whether something goes up or it goes down. There's a lot of randomness in the market, and there's a lot of um, catalysts, negative and positive, in the future that we don't even know exists. Now, if you take a survey of all the fund managers in the world and you ask them what's the biggest fear, or what is the likelihood of something going wrong and what's the reason behind it, they'll tell you all the reasons that are in the news and stuff at the moment, and that'll be the highest thing. But actually, normally it's not one of them. It's normally something that no one ever sees coming. It just hits. You can think of COVID as being a good
Yes,
example.
yes. Why are we so worried about a future we do not know what is going to happen
Mm.
in? We don't know the future. So we have to take 100% ownership of what we're doing in this moment, right? Where are we going to put our time, our energy, and our money? Firstly, we might want to put some time, energy, and money into the research at this stage might just be the platform. Is it the nutmeg? Is it the Vanguard? Is it a trading 212 account? Where do you want to be in order to be an investor? Level two. Then are we doing the tax? I love your levels, by the way. I think that just gives a different insight into it. And then it's going, okay, why am I doing this? What do I want from it? And blocking out the noise and doing some research and really kind of understanding why you want to be an investor. Because see, I actually think when you do that, when you kind of take ownership and sovereignty of a company that you're buying and why you're buying it, you're less likely to feel nervous by the volatility because you will have really connected to the CEO of that business or to the message or to the product. You can still go into the shops and go, well, it's still there, it's still selling, right? It gives you a little bit more connectivity to it, and it helps you to establish a relationship. But fundamentally, that relationship, even though it's something that's outside of you, it's a stock that's outside of you, you have ownership of it within yourself and you will know why you're doing it from a deep rooted perspective. And you're really kind of taking back that kind of part of it. And the news is noise that's around you. It's like going in the pub. It's really loud in the pub. Maybe I don't go in pubs as much anymore. Maybe that's why I gave up drinking because I just couldn't cope with the noise of things. But it's going out there and like kind of going, okay, I'm going to hear noise, but it's filtering that noise as just noise. But and this is important because we don't want to ignore what's going on in the world, right? It's then having awareness and filtering out and going, actually did hear something important that could be relevant to my company. And it could be a time to buy more or sell more. So it's because the more you do it, the more you start to notice what's important to you, to your investments, right? And you're taking ownership. And you're doing this all the time, Adam, as you're managing this for other people. So how do you do that? How do you filter out all the noise and stay rooted and grounded when you're managing portfolios?
It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And in fact, it's probably harder for me than someone doing it off their own back because I'm exposed to everything. I have everything flashing in front of me. Even here, it's flashing up and down, and all these news sources coming in, all these internal and external things going on. So it is very difficult. But you've got to, um, depending on what you're doing, right? Because if you're looking at individual stocks, you want to look at deep into that individual stock. Whereas if you want to, or if you're looking at collective funds, which is a pooled investments, then you want to look at something different. Really, it's kind of you can take a step back and look at what the fund manager's doing and things like that. So, and then you're more on the macro side of things. If you're just buying the whole market, then you're looking at world events and interest rates and GDP growth and things like that. So it does depend on what you're doing and why. Um, but you find a few sources that you really like and you can kind of stick to them. Now, I think one thing's really that I'm is quite important, and I know we're talking to a few people here that are very general. Some people aren't investing. Some people are investing in trackers, some people are doing direct stocks, some people are doing collectives, all in different things. So it's quite hard to sort of niche, get down into it, but you need to find a process. If you really want to do it yourself, and pick stocks yourself and pick funds yourself, active funds yourself, you've really got to have a kind of process there. So it's not only about doing your research, it's saying actually what type of investing fits with my psychology. Do I want to buy incredibly cheap stocks that look like absolute bargains, and then make sure that when they re-rate and go back up to where I think they should be, then I sell them. So I'm almost renting the stocks. Or am I better to buy high quality stocks with, low debt, decent management, that are quite expensive, but are going to stay high quality for a long period of time, and I can hold them for a long period of time, and that suits your psychology better. So there's these sort of philosophy and process that you need to stick with. Um, Going back down to that sort of level one, you invest in the global market, and it's just about how much you can afford to put in every month, or whatever. That's really that. So you don't really need to do as much research as you do with individual stocks.
I
Um,
love that, Adam. There's so many things that you've really shared there, which I love to reflect back on all the things that you've mentioned. It's hard. It's hard. Life's hard. When are we going to accept that we didn't come here for an easy journey, right? Life is hard. It's hard. And when we really realize that it is hard, I think we can soften and give ourselves a bit of a break and realize, it is hard and everybody's in it together. And we can support each other to reduce the pressure. The word that came when you were talking about that was like pressure. You are responsible for everything. It's all flashing up. Not only are you responsible, it's other people's money as well, right? When you're an investment manager, that's a huge amount of pressure. And so you've got to balance that pressure by going. And one thing that came to mind for me is that do have a process, and we'll talk about the process. I think that's great, the process that you've just like outlined there, and what a deep insight is have a time when you are in the pressure, but have a time when you're not in pressure. How you decamp the pressure, because if you think of I haven't got it here. Just if you think of like a jug and you're pouring pressure in, it's going to overflow and you need a tap to take the pressure. And what we really want in life is to have the more pressure going out than what's coming in because we are already at capacity. A lot of us are already stressed, anxious, burnt out, have been living a life of fear, have been living a life that's led to a lot of people are going through burnout. We hear it all the time. It's why we're seeing an emergence of well-being and wealth from a different perspective and seeing the bigger picture because a lot of people are hitting their 40s and beyond literally at breaking point. And they're all almost like so broken. And when you're in that broken, the way the mind works is you can't concentrate. You can't even take on information. You're so overwhelmed that you can't think straight. And when you can't think straight, you can't make informed decisions. So one thing you could do as before you even get into being an investor in doing this is maybe you need to pour some of that pressure out and start to do some work to release pressure and balancing it every single day. You have to do this so that when you do then go in and sit down and start to think, well, I do want to take my life seriously. I do want to take ownership. I do want to be an investor. I am an investor. I can do this. I am wealthy. I am already wealthy. I have everything that I need. Your kind of your pressure cooker is down a little bit, and you already have a practice of releasing pressure every day, more pressure than what's coming in. And it might be then that when you're doing your investments, because you already have pressure, a lot of these people already have pressure with their entrepreneurship, right? So this is going to add to the pressure. It's not an easy thing. So if you're adding to pressure and pressure is here, how can we release the
you
pressure?
can choose. You can choose how much pressure you
Yeah.
want to take. And I've just written down spinning plates here. You the same analogy, but you can choose how many plates you want to spin.
Yeah.
And the first plate, I mean, one plate is, I mean, zero plates probably, or one or whatever, is giving the money to me to do, or a professional to do.
Yeah.
And they take that pressure off you. They say they'll sort it out, they'll monitor it, they'll do everything.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of, you can just see every 6 months or whatever how things are going, and is it, you know, doing what you expect or not, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing. You can just push it all past. You can do it yourself, and we can set, say you do it in a global tracker of 5,000 stocks or whatever it is, and it's just going to track the market. That's another plate. But you don't have to monitor, because it's global. You don't have to monitor what each country is doing, because you're not taking that active decision. You're
So,
just buying global stocks. Okay, 65% is the US, 15% Europe, what, 4% UK, probably 15% emerging markets as well, but like a bit of Japan. But you're not making any decisions on that. So you see, you've only got one plate. If you've got a global tracker, it's kind of one plate. Maybe you're saying about how much risk you want to take, and you mix that with a few bonds, or a bond tracker as well. But that's one. But then you could go to a passive strategy, which is again just buying whatever the global market is, or but you can buy that on individual regions. So I'm just going to buy Europe, and I'm just going to buy US, and I'm just going to buy UK, and I'm going to weight them in my investments. I'm going to choose how much money I put into each. You've got an extra active decision. You've got an extra plate that you're going to spin. And then you can go further and say, actually, I'm going to buy collective funds in there. So active collective funds where fund managers are making choices on what to buy. Then your choice is to go, how much, firstly, I need to invest. Secondly, we're putting money, I'm allocating to different amounts to regions. Then I'm allocating to what fund managers. And then I suppose another plate to step further is to say, actually, what sectors or industries do I want to invest in more? And then you go further, and another plate is actually what the companies
yay, it's
you want to
like your
invest in,
layers of a
right?
cake.
So yeah, so it's like, how much, firstly, how much pressure do you want to take? How much time have you got? Really importantly, how much do you enjoy this kind of research? If you're doing it yourself, you might enjoy it. And you might find that actually you can do a blend of each. You can buy a handful of stocks here, 5 to 10 stocks, but most of your portfolio is in a global tracker. So actually you have got those kind of plates, but you can mix and match everything. There's no sort of right and wrong answer. So that's one thing I think I was wanted to notice. But also for me, the pressure is reduced because I have a process. Like, we have this philosophy around what we do and why we do it that isn't the same as everyone else. And we have a process that is disciplined and it's structured. So it means that which I trust and clients trust, that means we can stick to it, and we know we're going to be in the right place. So it's limited emotion. So this pressure is mostly around emotions, saying I should do that, or I should knee-jerk reaction to what's going on in the world, and I should buy that, I should sell that because of something that happened in the last 5 minutes. It's not that. If we've got a process, we can stick to that and know that we're doing the right thing. That process, this is really odd and something that takes a while to sort of realize, but anyone can have a process, and if you stick to it, you could have the opposite philosophy. There's plenty of ways to skin a cat or something like that, but you can
Oh,
have the opposite philosophy, right, and still have a process, and that process and that those investments can do just as well as our process, right? But you need to stick to one. If you start jumping around, I'm going to be a value investor, I'm going to be a growth investor, I'm going to just invest in resources, or environmentally responsible investing, or load of different things. If you sort of jump around quite a lot, it's gonna be detrimental to your overall performance, because that's when emotion sort of comes into it all.
Adam, you've
um
just been called star magic right there because there's some really incredible words that I captured as like that sprung out to me. Philosophy, having a philosophy is so important. What is your philosophy to life? That's your value system as well. What do you value? What's your philosophy? What is your process? How do you want to do life? How do you want to do investing? And then it's the discipline and commitment.